Hello, everyone, and we are back to part two of our very rich conversation with Lynda Colter-Bergh. She just talked about her incredible near-death experience. So, if you have not listened to her near-death experience, please go back to the first video because you do not want to miss it. So, I have it in the description box. Is the link. Lynda, I wanted to continue our conversation. I know that you talked about when your heart was stopping and you finally opened up to your doctor about, well, my heart has been stopping, but it starts back. Um, did you, when he did the series of tests on you, did you on a conscious level or subconscious level know that you were in fact creating that at that moment? Or did you still were you still kind of looking to see if he could find something? What was like? Where were you in terms of that kind of knowledge?
For me, it was this limbo of, well, you can try, but you're not going to find anything. And I
Mm,
really didn't know why he wasn't going to find anything, but I just knew he
wow.
was. But it's like, okay, I mean, I could be wrong, and if nothing else, it's going to give me more information because there's that logical side of me.
Mhm.
Why is this happening? Could I have something physical? Could it be simply, the night terrors where people have seizures in their sleep and can't move? We actually did sleep study tests. We knocked off every single thing it could possibly be.
Mhm. Mhm.
And so, for me, again, we did grand mal seizures, we did stroke, we did mini heart attacks, we did like every single thing until we were exhausted.
Wow.
Every test we could think of, every scan, there was just nothing. There was no reason for it. Yeah, so there's this part of me that was a little sassy of like, well, go ahead, you know.
Good luck. We'll see what you
Good
come.
luck if you find something great, but I don't think you're going to find anything.
I have heard you state, and I think this is so significant because a lot of people, of course, the near death experience is so incredible because we talk about this incredible love. We talk about a lot of times NDEers come back with these abilities, and I want us to get a little bit of that from you. But you have stated that we don't have to have a near death experience to have a shift in consciousness. Can you talk about that? Because I think it's important that we all don't want to die, right? And have to
Right.
die and come back in order to kind of remember that which we are. So how can we do that? How can we access that information that you have and that inner it's really a vibration.
Mm-hmm. It
It,
is.
how
It
can we
is.
do that without have the NDE?
Um, so I think there's a couple things. The first I would say is just be open to the possibility and not decide it has to look a certain way for it to be true.
Mm,
So, like me saying, well, aren't I supposed to see a bright light? I'm not supposed to see this tunnel or these beautiful, don't I have family over here waiting for me somewhere? Come on. All those expectations, even there, I had expectations of what it should look like. And until I released those, I couldn't experience it. And the same holds true here, that we have expectations of what things should be, but and how it should show up if we have um, this connection or this vibration. I don't know how many times people have talked about their Kundalini awakening and how traumatic it was, or how wonderful, but it took months, or it took. Uh, I didn't even know I had one other than I was watching Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon. Wonderful movie, came out of it. And I remember like something was happening while I was watching the movie that was just this incredible energetic expansion. And I thought, wow, this is an amazing movie. It's like, and it, almost like watching Wizard of Oz go from black and white to Technicolor.
Yeah.
When I was driving home, everything was different. It was night, but I could see the trees glowing. I could see the energy in everything for months. I could literally see every single, I could see auras and energy, and everything went into a different level of Technicolor. That was my experience. So I didn't even know that that's what it was. It just was. I didn't understand what it was. I didn't try to define it. But yeah, I have to laugh that, you know, Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon initiated my Kundalini experience.
Right. We must have somehow accessed some part of you. That's
Some
interesting.
part of it just, yeah, I don't know what within it triggered, but it did. And maybe it was the sheer joy.
Mhm.
Sometimes I wonder if it was not the sheer joy of watching this incredible movie
Mhm.
and being completely engulfed in it, and just that level of vibration I was feeling watching it. I think if I were to try to identify it, that might have been it.
Mhm.
But again, we all think things should look a certain way. I remember later on, I had a friend that was trying to get me to come out of the psychic closet for 10 years. And we would do groups, and he's the one that does the podcast with me, Third Eye Salon.
Mhm.
And we would do groups and bring different people in and just practice, see what our abilities were. And I remember having a point where a mutual friend of ours who does remote viewing was describing what he did. And I said, well, now I'm confused because I had this thing happen to me that I guess must have been that. You know, I was driving home from the airport, and I was an hour from home, and my husband called crying. I thought somebody had died. And he had actually lost one of his earrings. Yes, two earrings that meant a lot to him.
Mhm.
He lost one down the shower, and he was so upset at himself. And I pulled over the road because I thought somebody had died to prepare myself. And the next thing I know, I'm standing in the hall of looking into our bathroom. And we had shower doors that had mirrors on them. And I see this glint in the mirror of our shower door, right next to the rim of the toilet and the carpet on the far side. And I said, honey, I know this sounds really weird, but do something for me. Go stand here and kind of get to my height and look right here and tell me what you see. And it was his earring. He found his earring. And I was describing that to our friend. He said, wait, what? You actually see things? And I said, wait, what? You don't?
Wow.
Right? Because I thought that's the only way you could remote view, was physically seeing something. And so I was always trying to strive for that.
Wow.
Like, well, I'm not doing it. That was just this fluke weird thing. I'm obviously not good at it. So how do you get to that state? And I'm asking him this question, and he just looks at me like, wait, you actually see stuff? And how do you do what you do and you don't see stuff? It was the first time I learned that there's a lot of different ways that people remote view.
Oh, that's incredible. That's incredible. And goes right into my next question. From this experience, what abilities did you bring with you? That's incredible and so significant because Lynda, as you may know, a lot of us, some of us are shamed out of the psychic abilities, and then there are others of us that feel like, oh my gosh, she's special and he's special, and they have this, and I wish I had it, and I've been one of those where I'm like, how do I do this? How do I? And we're looking to have that same experience of what psychic looks like for you and like you said, we're all born with that intuition. And I just love that your Kundalini awakening came from a movie. Like just being open to our particular path which is going to be different from everybody else's.
Exactly. Everyone's abilities show up differently.
Mm-hmm.
And again, it's like some people are great chess players, some people are great athletes, some people have a voice of an angel.
Mm-hmm.
We all have different gifts in how we show up, but it doesn't mean that we don't have all of those to some extent. I can sing, you wouldn't want to hear it, but I can sing, right?
I love it.
The only thing that stops me is my judgment and not wanting to hurt other people's ears. So, but it doesn't mean I can't sing.
Right.
Right.
Right. That's right.
But my expectation of what singing should be stops me from singing in public. Right. Doesn't stop me from singing. So when we're trying to figure out what our abilities are, what I would tell people, the one thing I tell people over and over again is be an observation.
Mm-hmm.
So when you are exploring these different things, when something does happen, what state of mind were you in?
Mm-hmm.
What emotional state were you in? What physical state were you in? What thought did you have, and how did you think that thought?
Mm-hmm.
Did you think it a long time? Was it a split second? Think of being really in observation. How did that show up? Did it show up how you wanted it to,
Mm-hmm.
how you expected it to, or in a different way? And then say, thank you, acknowledge it. Yes, thank you, more, please.
I love it.
Always, yes, thank you, more, please.
Yes, yes.
And be open to the next way. And then practice.
So you said, and do a lot of practice, right? And recognizing it.
Mm-hmm.
Tell us about another dynamic thing that you've talked about is when you've spoken with like a business and you've helped them financially, and then they were like, oh, we save money, but you do a thing, and that's what we benefited most. Tell us about that, because I thought it was just so cool.
Right. I thought I was really hiding well.
Right?
I thought that I've got this under control. People don't think I'm weird. And if I just play things by the book, right? If I just act normal, then this will either go away, or I can keep it at a level that people won't think I'm weird. And I'll go ahead and I'll go by through my life working on me and just kind of set that to the side. Mm-hmm. And so I still do it. I do merchant services for businesses to save them money, because a lot of times when coaching them, they I'd love to do that, but I don't have another penny to be able to pull to do this. And so part of the reason I do that is because sometimes I can save several $100s a month for someone. It's like, okay, here's your marketing budget. Now you use that money towards something else. And so all of my clients that I built with that, there were times when they would say, there's this thing, I love saving the money with you, don't get me wrong. But there are times you call me up on my worst day and ask me how I am. Mm-hmm. And it makes all the difference in the world. Or we'll be talking about something, and there's this weird thing that you do. You might want to tell people about it because it's kind of disconcerting, but you kind of just look right through me. And it's the first time you did it, it was really weird, but I got used to it and I started paying attention because whatever came out of your mouth after that was exactly what I needed to hear.
Wow.
Whatever came out after that could be, just changed how I saw everything. And whatever that is, that's what you should be doing. And I was like, what is he talking about? What are they talking? But I was hearing that over and over again. What are they talking about? And so again, in observation, I had a couple of my clients that were open enough to say, you just did it. And I said, I don't even remember what I said. And they tell me, it's like, wow, that is pretty cool. I realized I didn't remember what I was saying during those times. I started paying attention to, did I have any sensations in my body when that happened? Why, yes, I do. I have this tingling that happens to the back of my crown. I didn't even know at that point, crown chakra. I had no, somebody told me that's a moon chakra. I just learned that recently. But when I get downloads, when I get information, that will tingle. I learned that I can sit next to someone and often pick up the pain in their body and feel it. Wow. I also learned that I've had times where I have no control over it. I don't know why it happens, when it happens, but I can be with someone for 5-10 minutes and something miraculous happens with their body. I have no idea what's happening. I don't claim it. I don't know. I can't, it's one of those things that it's happened half a dozen times now. And I'm not a healer. I don't know what's happening, but it happened. I have to acknowledge it happened. So just being open to how is it going to show up? And then the best advice I ever got was remove the expectations of what it should look like. Remove the test anxiety. That's what kept me from doing it all the time, was this test anxiety. Am I going to get it right? Am I going to get it right? Remove the responsibility that you hold for someone else's actions. I did not want to share information because I was afraid what the other person would do with that information. And I had to learn, you're just the messenger. What they do with it is up to them. But probably the biggest thing that helped me when I started was I actually took a year-long course because there's that part of me that I have to test it. I have to test it. There's the logical side of me that has to negate everything else and then finally believe it. And so I took a year-long course with someone on developing your psychic abilities. And every week we would do tests. Every week she would give us an exercise for us to actually do. And she said, just play. Just play. Take all the expectation away and just play. Allow yourself to be free of those things that you think it should look like, of being 100% right all the time. That was one of my things. I had this big thing that I had to be 100% right all the time, or I was a failure. I failed. And, at the end of that year, I said, I still don't know if I've I mean, I know I've done really well every week. I still don't know.
Mhm.
And she said, you need to understand something. The best of the best psychics that get paid to do this that are in front of groups are like 70% accurate. 70 at the most. Those are the really good ones, you know. And I was in the 90s. So she said, give yourself a break, right? So you don't have to be right 100% of the time. And that was a huge part for me. But play with different ways of doing things. Play with different, if you're wanting to explore it, be in observation all the time. Again, what did I feel like? What was going through my head? Part of what I was really curious about is I was always told, you've got to be in this high vibrational frequency to be able to manifest anything. Right? You've got to be there. Well, I remember times in my life where I was at the worst of my worst and said, I give up. I need this, and I need this now. And like almost insultingly demanding, like, I don't give a shit what you got going on. I need this now. Because I'm in trouble, man.
Okay.
Right?
In the
So,
moment of now. Exactly.
and I need it like now. And I remember, like, I was not in a good headspace. I was not in a good vibrational frequency. I was not saying things over and over again. I'm not a huge fan of positive affirmations. I don't repeat things over and over again, but I've had the most amazing manifestations of things that I think of. And when I went back, it was like, okay, look at all the times that happened and what state of mind were you in?
Mm-hmm.
And did you repeat yourself? Did you, and so I started creating this pattern of, oh, I understand. I didn't sit there and dwell on it.
Mm.
When I manifest things, it's not a dwelling. Like now it's like this nanosecond of thought. And and I have such faith that it'll show up if it's right for me, but it's just I let it go. And because I realize it's just this communication.
Mm-hmm.
And I tell people it's like a going to a restaurant and being handed this menu.
Mm-hmm.
If you continually say, I'm still thinking, come back.
Mm-hmm.
I'm still thinking, gosh, this looks good, but that looks good. I don't know. I can't decide. Well, the waiter's going to come back, right? But if you look at it, it's like, that's it. That's what I want. I would love that. And I want it with extra whatever. Then the waiter comes back with it for you.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes you go, oh, I'd love that, but and you just think, could there be anything extra? Like, can you substitute this, or can you do anything extra on this? And they come back with this cherry's jubilee as an end, we just had some extra, so here you go, right?
Yeah.
So it's, if you don't say what you want,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you might get it, but it might not be exactly what you're looking for, right? Or you can say, surprise me, and then your world can implode and you can get what you finally needed.
Ooh.
Um,
Lynda, can you consciously go back to that place of love? Like I'm trying to figure out like what I often think that you know what to get close to that realm of unconditional love is what through meditation. Can you do
mhm.
that? Can you bring that that other realm because you loved it so much. It felt so good. It was like, oh, I don't want to leave my family, but this feels so good. And that's what we all want is love.
Yeah.
Um, do you find that if you meditate, you can go back there? How is that for you?
For me, it's actually, I suck at meditation. I
Me
will tell
too.
you, I suck at it.
Me
Um,
too.
so, so I always hear this, you need to meditate so many times. Well, mine is more active meditation, but one of the things that the way that I get there is by expressing to others. And what I tell people is there's a point where I just picture my heart, the essence, that light, that ember that is within each of us. I picture it kind of on a high heart space. I was shown that once as a child, that there's this ember within us that if we just blow on it, picture blowing on that ember, that's the essence within us. It can surround us, it can engulf us, it can go bigger than our home, bigger than our community, bigger than the world. There's no end to it. But this is the light within us. Blow on that ember. And so I will picture myself blowing on that ember with love, that love that I felt. And before I know it, it's huge. And one of my favorite things to do is what I call love bombs. I love walking down the street in that state and walking past people and sending them little bombs of love from that, just spiking them with love, sending it to them. And they'll turn around, they'll have their back to me and they'll turn around and look like, what was that? And they'll have this smile on their face, like, what was that? Um, and and then it just like, and then there's more, and then there's more. I was doing that one time, and I was across the street. There was a woman across the street, and it was like, I just need to go to her. Like being here is not, I need to go to her. And I walked up to her and she said, "Are you an angel?" And I said, "Why would you think I'm an angel?" And she said, "Because you're glowing." And I remember just spending time with her, and all of these messages were coming through for her. I don't remember what they were, but they were things she needed to hear. And I'm very conscious of people's space. And so I don't even hug somebody without them saying yes. But I remember I put like 3 fingers on her forehead and just held them there as I was saying some things. I don't know what I was saying. And she just burst into tears. And like her whole being changed. And it turned out she was homeless. It turned out that she was there to try to earn some money to to have money for a laundromat. And I gave her what money I had, and she turned around, she gave it to the person that was going to hire her and said, "You know what? There are people who need this for food. Give this to them instead." And it just blew me away. And she's, I can continue and do my work for my laundry food or my laundry money. I know you need this to feed people.
That's incredible that you approached her, and before you even started engaging with her, she picked up right up on your energy. She
Yeah.
already, that's
And it threw me back. It threw me for a loop. That someone would say I was glowing. but I was just in that state of absolute love and bliss. And can I be there always? No, just ask my husband.
I love it.
As loving as I can be just as angry and shameful of the rage I can still feel at times. And I have to step back and say, get a grip, Lynda. What's going on here? What's this really about? And really do some introspective work of why do I feel how I feel? And, anger is a secondary emotion to fear.
Mm-hmm.
What am I afraid of? And am I really, is this boundaries that I'm allowing to slide? All those things come into play. And so a lot of times when I do coaching with people, it's at all these levels. We don't separate our work from who we are anymore. That was a fallacy of being able to compartmentalize that maybe at one point in our society we used to be able to do, but now we are way beyond our work.
Lynda,
and that's just an expression of who we are.
You're definitely psychic. That was my next question. What services do you offer? What services do you offer? Tell us about your podcast. Tell us about what you have going on.
So I do one-on-one work with people. I've never advertised. It's all come from word of mouth. Mm-hmm. And I do it at a really reasonable rate. At some point I will probably raise it. But I believe in, if you're really going to do coaching, it makes sense to do like every other week so that you stay on track. It's very fluid. What we talk about, what we do is very customized from week to week to help you with your goals in whatever aspect they are. So it can be, I have some people that only come to build their abilities. I have other people who are making life changes. And I have other people who are, just trying to figure out what they want to be when they grow up. Right. So it's all variant. Some are with work, some are personal. And I do $200 a month for 2 sessions. And the sessions can be 45 minutes or they can be an hour and a half. It really varies. And it's month to month. So what I tell people is, if it's not jiving, if it's not working for you, I'd rather you not be committed to that process anymore because I'm not the right one for you. But if we have this agreement that, you're going to do the work, you're going to come back each session, great. And if you're honest with me and we work through whatever that is, month to month. I don't like big, long contracts. And with all that's gone on right now, where things are tight for people, I think making that 200 commitment each month is enough that, you've got to think about it. I know there are people who are like, that's nothing. Okay. But for most of my clients, they're in that realm where it's a commitment. Mm-hmm. They have to think about it. Mm-hmm. And then we work on whatever it is that they're wanting. And I use all of my abilities, whether it be my years of business coaching or my psychic abilities, or, I'm not a therapist. I tell people I'm not a therapist, mm-hmm. but I've had a lot of people say, you did more in 2 hours with me than the last 2 years I've had with my therapist. Mm-hmm. So, with people understanding, I am not a therapist. I do have it under life coaching, spiritual coaching. So that is one thing. I do also do one-offs for people. I tell people I don't do windows and I don't do fortune telling. I'm not that kind of psychic. So one of the things that I use as a tool, that was the other thing I was going to mention, find the tools that work for you. Okay. So some people use cards, some people don't need anything. I will use a combination of cards and usually a pendulum. And I actually make pendulums for people as well that are custom. This is one of the ones that I use a lot. This is another one that I use. They're all some of my precious stones. But when I use them after setting the stage before we ever have a meeting, I'll just show you. I always put it over my finger because for me, the less movement, I allow the pendulum to work. And I teach how to do this as well, but I make a circuit. I use my hand here and here, dowsing. And so for me, I just show me a yes. I to see it going forward to back. Okay, and then I say thank you. Should come to pretty much a stop, and then show me a no. And start going side to side. Is it? Yeah.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, so it's going side to side. Okay. So we joke that when it's a really good yes, it's a double C confirmation because it hits me in the chest.
That's amazing. I always have had that insecurity. Like, is this my hand moving? Is this,
Yeah.
That's beautiful.
Again, for me, when I first started this and was curious, and it was a long story, but when I was erasing hard drives, my dad said, I knew you had it in you, honey. I knew it. I knew you could witch. Dad, did you just call me a witch? Like, no, you can witch. And he went and made dowsing rods for me out of welding rods and told me to go find water. That was my first introduction to dowsing.
Mm.
And I did. And it was like, oh, that's kind of cool. So once that happened, I started looking at it.
Mm-hmm.
I actually created like this little, like a swing set thing. I made one and hung a pendulum from it and tried to make it move with my head, just my brain. Mm-hmm. Like, here's the analyst in me. Am I moving it with my thoughts? No. Okay. Well, what if I just touch it and it started moving? I just touched the top of it. And I was like, okay, show me a yes. I'm never going to remember that because I can't remember which way in a circle is yes or no. How about if we go forward like I'm nodding for a yes and sideways for a no, like I'm doing this? Can we do that? And that's how it started.
Wow.
And so when I use it with my clients, what I tend to do is have them talk about their situation that's in front of them. Mm-hmm. I will watch the pendulum, and when they are in alignment, it will be a yes. Or if it's a yes, I will see a yes. If they're out of alignment, if they're going against what's in their highest good, if they're trying to talk themselves into or out of something, I will get a no. Like, you need to take a look at this. If they're close, I will get it at an angle, and it's more like we need to ask more questions about this. You're close, but it needs refined. And then I will auditorily hear things, and it may just be a couple words that I will come and say, does this mean anything to you? And that's how I usually do one of those sessions.
That is beautiful. That's beautiful. And it's not lost on me that your mom was in a state of kind of fear, but your dad was kind of always watching you and knowing that you were carrying these abilities that your ancestors had. And this is not witching. This
Yeah,
is,
it's not.
again, these
It,
are tools to
the old,
access.
right, the old term that they used was witching.
Right, right.
And they used, and it was searching for water with a willow, with a willow stick. So they would witch for wells. They would witch for water. And that was the original term as, a verb.
It also always makes me think of the Salem witch trials, how people were just murdered for being intuitive. Some of them were not that intuitive. They were just women,
Right. They were women.
Exactly. Yes. And just that fear. And so everyone to be mindful to open, like Lynda said, open your mind to something new. Open your mind to something new beyond the conditioning that we've all been exposed to.
Yes. And, and I think we're in a very tumultuous time right now. And there's a lot of misinformation. There's a lot of judgment. And even in the spiritual world, I think there's sometimes more judgment than anywhere. So if we can back off from that and see each other soul to soul, you are a being of God, I'm a being of God. How can we create a better world? What are your fears? Okay, well, they're kind of similar to mine. I'm worried about the same thing. So how can we make it better? And start having those kinds of conversations versus an us and them dialogue.
Absolutely.
Versus also there's an apathy that I'm seeing in a lot of spiritual realms of it doesn't matter. It doesn't, none of this matters. I don't even pay attention. It doesn't matter. Well, it actually does make a difference.
Lynda, thank you for saying that. Thank you for saying that. You are absolutely right. And there are those who have, arrived, right? But get to a point where they're like, what, why are we talking? Like you said, none of this matters. This life is an illusion, but you know what? It matters to people who are experiencing real pain. And at a certain point, that becomes indifference. It becomes a lack of compassion. You got to check how that feels. So I appreciate you saying that because you are absolutely right.
And for me, they always say a counselor knows when a marriage is done when they see apathy in one person. They don't care anymore. And I see that apathy happening, which is exactly that's worse than hate. That's worse than and people are like, what? That's worse. That apathy of I just don't care what's happening. At least hate is based on, I'm very passionate about something. I love something. So I'm like recognizing the opposite of that, right? It gives us a place to start.
Yes. But apathy is indifference. It's
apathy is it complete indifference. You can go and you can create genocide. It's not affecting me. This is all right. This is all an illusion. This isn't in my country. This isn't, or you can treat people horribly. You can dismiss an entire part of our population. You can do things to harm. I don't want to deal, in politics. I don't want to deal with politics because I don't want to lower my vibration. You know what? There's a lot of people being affected by that decision. And no action is still action.
And at the same time, it's a divine balance, right?
Because exactly.
At the same time, I do acknowledge that sitting looking at the news is not a high vibrational activity.
It's not.
And people feel like they have to participate in the suffering some kind of way. They look at images on the news and it lowers their vibration.
Right.
They're sad. They feel like they have to participate in that, and that's not helping
No.
collective consciousness either.
And anything that you're in that fosters rage, that fosters hate,
Mm-hmm.
is the opposite of love. And I always, I say, if you're in a religion that requires you to hate somebody, find a new religion.
Absolutely.
Because God is love.
Absolutely.
So foster that, and foster that between people that you don't agree with.
Yes. Yes.
So there is a balance. It's never black or white.
Yeah. Yes. Exactly. Exactly.
There is a balance to have in our lives. And yes, we need people who are completely focused on raising the vibration of the consciousness. Mm-hmm. That's all they do. That's where they are. Mm-hmm. But we also need people who are in the trenches. And then there's everyone in between. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. But where we're coming from is what's important.
Right. Tell us about your podcast.
So again, my friend who took 10 years of patient nudging to get me to come out, started a podcast with me, all his idea. When we first talked about it, it was like, let's create this safe environment for everybody who is just questioning their abilities, where they're just starting out where we were, where they have a place where they can ask questions and not feel judged, where they can hear other people's experiences and identify with them or not. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And just expand their vision of what could be. And so we talked about it's like a seesaw, where we will bounce back and forth with each other. Our initial one was we'll bounce ideas back and forth, and hopefully in that we will start rising as we do with more and more people on this teeter-totter, right? That we're moving up. It quickly came into changing the format that we have, usually a guest and 3 co-hosts, where we have discussion about a topic versus just an interview.
Nice.
Love that format because we come at it from different angles with different experiences and can dig much deeper. And so it's called Third Eye Salon, 3RD Salon. And I'm sorry, Third Eye Salon. So forgot the I in there. Third Eye Salon. And would love for people to check us out. We have a Facebook group called Third Eye Salon that you're more than welcome to join. What I love about that is that it's such a supportive community to celebrate each other, what we're doing, to continue conversations on things that we've had come up in our podcast, and to share events or things that are coming up that others might be interested in.
I love that. And send it to me, Lynda. I'm gonna put it in the description box so people can join. I love it. I love it. And it sounds like just a safe space, right?
That's our entire thing, is a safe space. It's recorded live. So one of the cool things is that it gives you a chance as an audience member to type in your questions, and we will do our best to ask our guest so that they can answer them directly at that time. And so it's unique that we have that ability. I don't talk a whole lot on it. I'll come in every once in a while with some questions because I'm the chat host. And so I always tell people I have one rule: play nice or get out. And so that's my boundary. That being inquisitive is 100% supported. And just do it with integrity and respect for each other.
That's beautiful. Is there anything else that you wanted to say before we close out? And I did want to, I know you talked about the podcast. Did you, there will be people who will be wanting to contact you, Lynda, for sure. Can you let us know how you prefer to be contacted?
Best possible way probably is to just email me.
Okay.
My email is Lynda with a Y.
Mhm.
My joke, my mom knew that was going to be my first word was Y. So it's LYNDA at journeytowisdom.com.
Okay. And
And if you go to look up that website, it is not there because I'm revamping it, but my email does work. So Lynda at journeytowisdom.com.
beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. And I'll have that scrolling in the bottom so that folks can, you can either check the description box or it will be in the bottom. Are there any lasting words, Lynda, that you wanted to share to the audience before we close out the session? Or anything else you want to talk about before we close out the session?
Sure. Well, one, if you've got questions and it's come from this, please let me know in the title that you're coming from Loretta's show. So I'll do something special for you when you come. I don't know what that is, but I will. Okay. And so do that. My thing is, I think what I want people to know, we've pretty much talked about, but it is being able to allow that, even if you don't really believe it yet or don't fully appreciate what it can be, allow for the possibility that your life can be full of love and grace and joy, no matter what is happening around you.
Mm-hmm.
There are micro moments of miracles that happen every day, but we miss most of them. So when you see them, pay attention and see them and say, yes, thank you, more please. And in that little prayer, the more you can do that in your life, the more you can walk in beauty and walk in grace.
Thank you so much. This has been all that I thought it would be, Lynda. I knew that it would be very high in vibration, a rich conversation, and just so much love. I do have closing remarks that I wanted to make before we close out. Lynda, sometimes courage looks loud and forceful and boisterous, shoving its way through fear and disappointment. And that's okay. But many times, courage is a quiet, silent resolve, a persistent resilience that will not give up in spite of life's challenges. Sometimes courage is as soft as a simple decision to remember our beauty and our divinity. And this is the particular courage of which you exude. Thank you so much for your decision in every moment of now to remember that which you are, because it is through your remembrance and your example that the rest of the world can see through the darkness using your light and recognize their own light. So thank you for being here. It has been an absolute pleasure having you on, and I definitely have an open invitation for you and your co-workers, your co-creators on the podcast, for you to join us again and again. It has been lovely having you.
Thank you so much. And that message, I just felt every single person taking that into themselves, because that was meant for every person watching.
Wow. I love it. I love it. That makes my heart that much happier. That makes my
One
heart
of
that much happier.
one last thing. When I heard that, when I felt that, it's like the Grinch. My heart just gets 3 times larger. Like that's the beauty that you just brought out.
Thank you so much. Every guest I have on, I say, okay, God, what are the closing remarks? And that's what God gave to me for you. And it's absolutely true. I love your energy. We've talked about this, the grounding energy and what courage looks like. And I just I'm honored that you joined us. I really am. So thank you for telling me that. That I love it. I love it.
That message was for everyone that was hearing.
I love it.
Rewind that and listen to it again because it was for you.
Wow. Thank you. I received that. I received that. Okay, Lynda, I'm in the ninth dimension. I'm in the ninth dimension right now. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for being so generous with your time. Thank you, and I would absolutely love to join your show.
Wonderful,
Let me know
wonderful.
what your friend says. But I do something corny at the end of every session. I do a little heart. So
Oh, I love that.
yes, love him like
Mine look more like potatoes, but there we go.
yes. Thank you to everyone who came to the channel today. Thank you to everyone who listened. Thank you to everyone who has subscribed. Please subscribe if you think it would help someone. Please forward the videos. Lynda's information will be in a subscription box. And until next time, y'all, I love you and have a wonderful, wonderful week. Bye bye now.
Bye.
Bye.